Does the USCIS really deny cases to collect more filing fees? In this video, we will cover 6 important points that suggest that the USCIS does in fact deny cases to collect more fees. We've helped so many couples navigate this journey without ever having to pay the filing fees twice, just like Gabriella and Carlos, who got their green card without any delays. You can check their full story here. And if you want to get a full step-by-step roadmap with zero wasted time and no mistakes made in your marriage green card case, you can speak to us directly using the link in the description below. Now, let's get into the first thing you need to know. The USCIS is almost entirely funded by filing fees. About 96% of its funding comes from filing fees, and only about 4% is from congressional appropriations. With how many cases they randomly deny for literally no reason, it's easy to assume that maybe they're doing it to collect more fees. Let's get into it so you can make that decision for yourself. First, the USCIS very frequently issues erroneous requests for evidence or RFEs. I mean, I can talk about this one for the next 2 hours, just giving you example after example of the real sad experiences people go through due to USCIS errors. They issue a high number of RFEs for documents that were already submitted for information that seems excessive. This tactic forces applicants to respond multiple times, often leading to denials if responses are not perfectly aligned with USCIS expectations. The cycle of RFEs and denials results in applicants having to refile, incurring additional fees. Sometimes they straight up deny a case without ever even issuing a request for evidence. We just had a member whose travel permit got denied with the USCIS stating that, according to their records, the applicant departed the US and thus abandoned their case. Normally, in a case like this, they could issue an RFE and ask for proof that the person remained in the US. It's so easy with the online I-94 record. Of course, the denial letter, though, stated that they can file an appeal, but there is an additional $800 filing fee associated with this appeal. Luckily, they just followed our program instructions and were able to reopen their case and get speedy approval without having to do any of that, and no additional fees were paid. Was it still stressful? Absolutely. It's a lot of uncertainty, and since the USCIS is claiming that according to their records, this person departed the US, the biggest fear is that they can deny the adjustment of status petition for abandonment as well. And this is the biggest reason why we created our marriage immigration method, where we guide couples through the entire marriage immigration journey, all the way through naturalization. This approach gives you a complete peace of mind that from start to finish, no matter what happens, you know exactly how to handle it. If you want a full solution from the get-go, connect with us today. Alright, second, we all can agree that there is a lack of clear communication and guidance on the USCIS's end. Where do you go to learn about the marriage adjustment of status process and what goes into it? The USCIS website is super confusing and does not adequately explain any processes. Frankly, it's useless. I mean, if you're watching this video or paying attention to this channel, it's only because you cannot find this information in their resources. They fail to provide clear and comprehensive guidance to applicants, resulting in avoidable mistakes and subsequent denials. The need to refile and pay again due to unclear instructions could be perceived as a tactic to generate more revenue from filing fees. Third, USCIS really likes introducing abrupt policy changes without notice. They implement abrupt changes in policy or interpretation of existing regulations without adequate notice to applicants. I mean, attorneys constantly struggle to keep up with everything that's going on in immigration, and it's still so easy to miss their updates despite doing this work all day, every day. So what is there to say about applicants who are handling this process entirely on their own and for the very first time? These changes can lead to unexpected denials for applications that would have been approved under previous guidelines. Applicants have to reapply under the new rules, often paying additional fees. If you want to pay attention to their frequent updates, you would want to sign up to receive their email notifications, and we've included that link in the description for you to not miss anything important. Fourth, we believe that the USCIS does not provide adequate training for their adjudicators either. I mean, clearly that's the case if they deny a case for no reason. Which records are they referring to in that denial letter if the person never departed the US? There are many reports of inconsistent training and knowledge among USCIS adjudicators, leading to arbitrary and erroneous denials. Applicants affected by these inconsistencies have often no choice but to refile, which incurs more fees. This pattern suggests a systemic issue that benefits the USCIS financially. For example, 90% of the time, an attorney would tell you to refile a case, even if the USCIS did erroneously deny it. But why though? There has to be a better way. Well, 10% of the time, an attorney would be willing to appeal. But not just an appeal has a filing fee associated with it, but also the denial rate for those are extremely high. Sometimes, attorneys prepare a cover letter with huge bold text saying, erroneous denial, no filing fee attached. But it's also tricky because it can get rejected, although sometimes it does go through. As you can see, there is zero consistency. Sometimes it goes one way, sometimes the exact same fact pattern, and it goes entirely differently. Either way, you can see that they can easily make your life miserable due to no mistake of your own. Now, the next point covers an excessive scrutiny on common issues. The USCIS applies excessive scrutiny to common issues such as minor discrepancies in personal information among different forms or even trivial financial documents. This heightened scrutiny results in unnecessary denials, pushing applicants to refile and pay additional fees. What is a good example of this? All of those erroneous I-864 requests for evidence. Here's how it goes. They issue an erroneous RFE, usually just claiming that they were unable to determine whether the sponsor qualifies, when the sponsor does in fact make 6 figures and provides all of the required financial documents. But okay, from there, you respond to that nonsense, normally with the exact same information you've already provided, although sometimes using additional assets or whatever else you have available at the time to make your case stronger. You upload it inside of the USCIS online account or mail it, and then many months later, applicants get a denial notice, stating that they failed to provide a response to an RFE. Such a typical story. They do the same with something as simple as the birth certificate. You submit the certificate with your initial filing, which, by the way, it's extremely important to submit the right document, and we've included a link in the description for you to locate that document based on your country of origin. But going back to submitting a response to an RFE, that's why we always ask our members to submit their response online and via mail with proof of delivery. It's all about collecting evidence, right? So you put your advocate hat on and prepare for a ride when it comes to dealing with the USCIS. But this leads us to the final point, which is in the lack of transparency in decision making. The USCIS provides very vague or unclear reasons for denials, and even their RFE letters that sometimes leads to denials, making it difficult for applicants to understand and correct the issues. I mean, think about it. Your sponsor makes way above the poverty guidelines. They are a W-2 employee, so they provide all of their financial records in addition to pay stubs and taxes. And then you get an RFE saying that they were unable to determine if the sponsor is qualified. They're not telling you what you did wrong, which often can be a mistake in the form such as incorrect household size. But it can also be a variety of other possible things in addition to a mistake on the USCIS's end. Either way, this lack of transparency leads to repeated filings, a lot of frustration and stress, with each new application incurring additional fees, whether attorney or otherwise. This lack of insight into the decision-making process raises questions about the financial incentives behind these tactics. If you have any personal stories to share, please drop them in the comments. Otherwise, like this video and we'll see you next time.